All right, let's do it.
Let's do it.
Back at our spot here in the airport parking lot in Ketchikan. Ryan, John, welcome back. Congratulations on the moose hunt.
Thank you.
You've got a streak going.
Yes, I do, and I don't know why, but I've been pretty fortunate.
Not only drawing, but also shooting nice animals, tagging, whatever, nice animals.
Yeah. Can't forget about the good friends that come along to help pack.
Yeah, I was sad that I couldn't come along this time. Obviously, with the baby coming, that was the priority. But Brian looked like he had a good time.
Yes, Brian did have a good time. We both had a good time. It was such a fun hunt. Kind of a bummer. Like, look forward to this time of year, like until February, and then it finally comes, and it feels like it just goes by so quick. Like you blink and it's done. But no, it was great.
I had a weird feeling last year when we got back from the caribou hunt, because up there it was clearly fall, because we were the changing of the leaves had already happened. That was early middle of September. Obviously, we got the 6 inches of snow. So then you come back here, and it's like a 3-week time warp where we come back here, and it was still green on the leaves, and everything is still late summer, early fall, not fall, like it seemed like it was up there. Did you have a similar sort of experience?
Yeah, we didn't get any snow this time. It did get cold, at least for the first night. We woke up and there was frost everywhere, but other than that, it was just chilly. I'd say probably low 40s the other nights that we were in there, but yeah, it only froze on us once. So
as far as scouting, so you get this, it was any bull, right?
Yep, drew an any bull tag. And as far as scouting, I mean, I drew a little sub-unit and just kind of looking at the map. I had some spots picked out. We're flying out of Fairbanks. Brian and I were in a 180, and at first we were going to pack like backpack camping and just kind of hang out in one spot, but then kind of plans change. It's like, well, we got a 180. There's only 2 of us. I mean, we can bring comfortable gear, so it transitioned into let's just camp at the airstrip or wherever we get dropped off. If somebody's there, then we will move accordingly. Luckily, when we landed, there was nobody around, so okay, we'll just go away from the airstrip just a little bit and set up camp, and so it transitioned from like backpacking stuff to more of like hot tent, wood stove, cots, packable chairs, and it was comfortable. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, we had quite a bit of gear, but I mean, there's only 2 guys, so but no, it was a lot of fun. So
I can't separate moose camp from comfort. I've never been on a moose hunt, but everybody that talks about them, it's all about not being minimalist. You've been a minimalist for your caribou hunt or for your deer hunt or your sheep hunt or anything, but when things get a little bit chilly and it's moose time, it's all about the comfort. So that's awesome that you got to have the hot tent and just a nice, warm, comfortable.
Yeah, it was pretty comfortable. Yeah, at first Brian made the suggestion of, hey, well, what about this? I mean, and I was just thinking, I don't know. I mean, yeah, we could bring all this stuff, and I'm really glad he talked me into it, because it was like, no, let's just set up, let's be comfortable, because if we're just going to be hiking, less than 5 miles a day away from camp, let's be comfortable. So it's not like we're going to be picking up camp ever so often or every other day. So it's made a pretty good base camp. Yeah, the whole comfort thing and like not rolling up your sleeping bag the next morning was like pretty awesome. Yeah. So not having to like deflate your pillow or your mattress. It's just like, let's just leave this, pack a day lunch, and then let's just go. Yeah. And that's what we did.
So as far as how you wanted to handle the hunting part, like what influenced your procedures? Because some hunts are a matter of let's just go as far as we can and get back in there and see what happens. But that's not really practical for a moose. You have to probably hike a little bit, but how do you decide what tactic to choose, which way to go, how far to go, how long to sit after you call, how much to call, all that stuff?
Well, after talking with the pilot was the spot that I wanted to get into. It looked like it was too small of a strip for the plane, and if we had heavy loads coming out of there, he said it would just be more of a pain in the butt. So we kind of just figured out the spot where we were going to go, and then I had a friend who said, don't be afraid to shoot a bull 3 miles away from the strip. Like, don't be and I'm like, okay. So, and he actually said that when we were having breakfast with him, because we got weathered in one day because we couldn't fly out.
Who was that?
That was Shelton that said that. So
okay.
yeah. So how the trip started is we left here. We flew up to Fairbanks, and then we got the U-Haul because we rented a U-Haul. It's cheap, and we had a nice big covered workstation. It was great. Keep all of our gear in. We can lock the back door, and it was great. But we were supposed to fly out on Saturday. Saturday was weathered. We were weathered in, so we hung out, had breakfast, and hung out with some friends in Fairbanks, and just talked a little bit. And and then we were able to get out Sunday afternoon, kind of late, but we still made it out. So that was pretty cool. But yeah, talking with Shelton and Harrison and showing them where we were thinking we were going to go, and it was pretty fun. And I just remember Shelton saying, "Don't be afraid to shoot a bull 3 miles away from camp." So I'm like, okay. I've never packed out a bull, so I don't know what to expect. I hear they're big, but now I see why people shoot them, like on the riverbanks and pretty close to camp. Like when people say, like on Tundra Talk, when the guys say, like, if I can't drive the four-wheeler up to them, I'm not going to shoot them. They're pretty big animals.
Yeah.
Coming from the little blacktails down here.
Yeah.
So.
I think they're at that point now for a lot of those guys, they've killed multiple, and it's the novelty, I guess, of the first couple are out of the way. Now it's just a matter of that ease, which makes some sense. So let's go into the hunt. Like, what you land, you can't hunt that day, and so next morning, what are things like, and what do you do?
Yeah, so let's see here. We landed. We got in pretty late. Like I said, I think we landed at like 4 o'clock or 5 o'clock in the evening, and flying out, you're just in awe, just because the country is so big, and the leaves are turning colors, and you're looking for moose, but it's really hard to see when you're flying out, going pretty fast, and so yeah, we set up camp. We didn't set up the wood stove because there was a big meadow behind the airstrip and where camp was set up. Just this big meadow. So we're like, okay, well, first things first, we're just going to wake up early. We're going to get over there quietly, and then we're just going to call. We've never called for moose. So luckily we've both been kind of practicing. I think Brian practiced more than I did, and we just let out some cow calls and then let that marinate for a little bit. And then I was like, well, let's rake on brush. Everything that I've heard on is it
looks like fun, if nothing else.
It looks like fun, and if anything, a curious bull will come in. And I didn't really have any expectations on what I wanted to shoot as far as like antler wise. I just wanted to shoot a moose, but I kind of wasn't ready to pull the trigger on the first hunting day on like a little forky. Luckily, Brian, he was more than willing to just shoot any legal bull, and I was totally happy with that. So, because he didn't have any bull tag. He had just the regular antler restriction tag over the counter.
That was a 3 or 4 brow tine?
It was a 3 brow tine area, and spike or fork or 50 or bigger. So, so that first morning we're calling, and then we let that sit for a little bit, and then sitting there freezing a little bit, trying not to move a whole lot. So then we, after a couple hours, not seeing anything and just kind of glassing up the hill in the area there, we're like, well, let's get to higher ground. Let's go see if we can see anything else. And so we worked our way up to this high vantage point where we could look up the drainage and look across the river. So that's another thing. Brian brought a pack raft. Mm-hmm. So if we needed to, like if we saw a bunch of moose on the opposite side of the river, rather than getting our feet wet, we can just hop in the raft and go. So that was pretty cool.
Like an alpaca pack raft?
He had the PR-49.
Wait, is that the Pristine Ventures?
I think so. He just kept saying PR-49. And
I think so.
It's a big gray one. It's like 11 feet long.
Yeah. Those things are monsters.
Yeah, we never used it, but I've seen pictures of it, and it looks pretty cool. So, yeah, we got to the higher vantage point, and then we just started glassing, and saw a little bit of caribou. Didn't see any bear. And then we saw a couple cows, like, way up in the drainage, and then we just see this big bull, big to us, just all of a sudden come out of nowhere after raking some brush, and then just hightail it over to these cows. And then as he was heading over there, we looked at the cows and we saw this other big bull over there, and we're like, whoa, okay. So then now it's on, and the wind was going up drainage, but kind of at an angle. So I was a little hesitant on just getting up and just going for it, but Brian made the suggestion, well, if we stay high, because they were down down low. It's like, well, if we stay high, then we can sneak up on them, come from the up, like do a big circle around them, then come from the upwind side. So then they will never smell us, and then hopefully they won't see us because we'll be up, kind of behind the horizon there. So
So when you landed at the strip, and as you went up a little bit, was it pretty open, or were you kind of looking down into the, I don't know, foresty, that black spruce type stuff, and you kind of saw them down in there, or was it pretty open?
So it was pretty open. From where we were camping in, there was a bunch of that black spruce, and then there was a bunch of that black, like, so that, like, the trees were lined the river a couple hundred yards here and there. So we got out of that, and then we worked our way up to like this big grassy tussock hillside. There was just patches of timber here and there, and they were kind of in patches of timber kind of next to like these little pond things, and so they were kind of in a broken area where we saw them. So, but
Gotcha.
that bull, he came out of a timber area from up above, and then just made a beeline straight for him, and he looked pretty cool. He had like a big drop tine and all sorts of stuff going on, antler wise. He just looked like, I guess what you'd say, like a trashy antler setup. So, and then
How far away was that? Like, were you like, get ready, let's do this, or was it kind of a, this is too far away to do anything at this point?
it's too far away. We got to get close. So that was our main. That was the main goal. It was like, okay, well, we just got to get close and play the wind. So we both had our little wind checkers on us. So we move up a couple hundred yards. We check our wind, and they were out of sight the entire time because it was that big rolly tussocky tundra hill type stuff. And so then finally we get up over them, and we check our wind again, and it's coming right at our face. And now they're in front of us, kind of, we're up on the hill, and then they're in front of us, and then the river's a couple hundred yards, probably 700 yards away from them. And then they were just down there doing moose stuff. By the time we got there, a couple of the cows, they were bedded up. We didn't see the big paddle bull that we originally saw. We saw the one bull with the drop tine. He was just chasing this one cow and just harassing her. Like, it was actually pretty cool. So we ended up watching him just for a little bit while we waited to figure out where the other one was, so we can kind of compare the two. I think before we got up to actually make our move, which took like an hour, by the way. So, I mean, once we got moving, once we decided, like, okay, let's play the wind, let's get up and go, we just went for it. And that took about an hour for us to get into decent range to figure out which one I wanted to shoot. But I believe before we left, I told Brian I wanted to shoot not the big drop tine guy, but the other bigger guy, because he just looked bigger. But when we got over there, the one drop tine bull, he was just chasing this cow. His eyes were rolling in the back of his head.
Oh, sweet.
Like, you could see the whites of his eyes. And then this other small dinky bull that we never saw before, he popped out of nowhere. And then drop tine bull, he just starts swaying back and forth like what you see like on social media or on YouTube or something. I'm like, whoa, he's getting ready to kick his butt, like, big time. And all while we're watching these two bulls and the cow meander throughout the little timber patches there. We still hadn't seen this other bull, so we're like, okay, well, let's get up, see if we can move some more. And just as we were moving some more, Brian says, there he is. He's bedded down in the bush. And I'm like, oh. Then he puts up his binos and he ranges, and he's like 260 yards or something like that. I'm like, okay, which bush? So you look down in there, there's like bushes everywhere. I'm just like, which one? He says, that one right there. So then I point down in there. He's like, you can only just see a little bit of antler. Like, so then I look up, and all I saw was like the 7-inch patch of antler. And I'm like, how did you see that?
Jeez.
I mean,
You brought some eyes.
yeah. He goes, well, I'm called the spotter, and that's why. I said, that's
yeah.
pretty cool. So, yeah. So he ended up seeing him, so then we just wait. And then that's when the wait felt like it was forever. And then we're like, okay, I got to get ready. So I crawled down, I got ready, put my pack down, and we're sitting there waiting. And then the other drop tine bull and the other cows, they're just doing their thing, and then they just disappear. And we're focused on just this one, and I don't know how much time went by, probably about 5 to 10 minutes. And finally he stood up and made sure there was nothing else around, and just one shot from 250 yards and just double lunged him, and he went down probably about 75 yards towards camp. Not that that mattered at that point because we were about 2.5 to 2.7, 2.75 miles from camp. So it was pretty far, but I would do it again.
Yeah.
And the bull went down, and we went and checked it out, and yeah, they're big.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're very big.
When you shot it, did he stumble? Did he move when you shot that caribou? And you were shooting 6.5 with the caribou.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't sure if you hit it or not because I was looking through the cameras trying to film it, and it wasn't really. It was zoomed in, but I couldn't like really see. And it just seemed like he kind of absorbed it, and then he stood there for a little bit, and then kind of put his head down, and then staggered a little bit, so you could tell he was kind of hit, but there wasn't like a shock. How'd the moose respond? Did he take off? Did he run? Did he start walking?
So I shot him, double lunged him just like right behind the shoulder, and we were up high on him, and it went down, did not exit on the other side, so the bullet was just underneath there. But the bull, he just took off running. So I immediately jacked another one in my chamber and tried shooting again, but he was moving, I was moving, and that one just hit the dirt right in front of him. But he took off, and so then I finally got back on him, and then I just caught a glimpse of antler fall over. So
Nice.
Okay, and then we waited there a little bit and didn't see anything else move. So we're like, okay, well, let's get down there, make sure he's still down there. So yeah, he just took off running, and they can move some ground when they want to. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, they don't dodge through stuff. It doesn't look like they just kind of go through it.
Yeah, like from where I shot him, I went down to where I shot him, and then I went from the direction that he ran to, and that stuff, I mean, I was like high knees through these big rocks and through the bushes and stuff, and I'm just like, he just ran through the whole thing. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
When Abby and I were down in Wyoming elk hunting, we spooked an elk and big old bull. They just tilt their head back so their antlers don't get caught on stuff. It just kind of like separates everything.
Oh, yeah.
And they just crash through stuff, but at full speed. It's pretty wild. I bet a moose is just even more impressive.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. But
So tell me about this. You didn't the 6.5 that you have that you've used for hunting and you've used for the caribou. That's a Savage ultralight.
Yep.
And then this is a 300 short mag.
Yeah. So I was shooting a 300 short mag, and it's a Savage as well. Brother-in-law gave it to me a bunch of years ago. He was just like. Or he gifted it to me, so I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So, but my buddy Jake, he has a chassis system where you can fold the stock and I mean, you can put it right on your backpack, and then stuff doesn't get caught in the brush. So I kind of rebuilt this one. I put a brake on it, and I chopped a little bit of the barrel off. So with the brake, it doesn't kick like at all. It probably kicks like a 243, maybe a little less than that. And put a new scope on it, little Leopold. The reticle I don't really like. It's the Boone & Crockett, but it works. There's got one of those dial scopes as well, and the chassis system is actually really cool. So it's got the foldable stock, and if anything, it just looks cool. So it's a little heavier. It's like 9.5 pounds when it's loaded, and that's with my bipod. So I mean, that's not terrible, but my thoughts behind it were I just use it for a moose gun and a bear gun. So yeah, I can put my bipod right on there, and it's a nice steady platform. So
And that's the first hunt you've done with it?
Yeah, since I rebuilt it. So I shot a couple deer with it before I tinkered around with it, and then I shot a couple bears with it as well. So
Nice.
But yeah, I finally found a bullet that's shooting good. 180 grain Winchester. I think PowerPoints or something. I tried probably 5 different bullets. So with the 300 Winchester short mag, it is really hard to find ammo. So I was just finding like whatever from Juno to Craig to Three Bears to, well, Tongass doesn't ever have anything, but yeah, I was just finding a whole bunch of ammo, and whatever I could find, I would try. I found 2 that shoot really good, but the one bullet I wasn't really excited about. It's a 150 grain Winchester, and after I bought a bunch of boxes and after it grouped really well, then I did some research. Probably should have did that the other way around because this bullet, I guess, I was reading a lot of forums, and when it hits, it just kind of explodes a little bit, and there's never an exit channel, so it doesn't hold together very well. I'm like, well, for moose, I want something that's going to hold together really well because they're big animals. So long story short, I found that PowerPoint, and it held together great. It did come apart a little bit, but for the majority of it, that the whole bullet was underneath the skin on the onside. So I felt like it did a great job.
Nice.
So, yeah. No, the gun's shooting good. I'm excited. I want to go shoot a bear with it at some point, probably next spring. So, yeah.
Nice.
The muzzle brake does not make it very friendly if you got neighbors. So I said, like I told Brian, I said, hey, if I got to shoot this thing, do not be next to me because it's not very friendly.
Yeah, I gave you a nice berth for the 6.5.
Yeah, I took that off because 6.5 don't really kick that much. So, but there is a difference with the 6.5 when I did put that on and when I took it off. It does not group the same. So, yeah. But no, I love the 6.5, and yeah.
So you are just almost 3 miles away from camp. You shoot the bull. You get it down. How long did it take you to process? And what were some things that you had to utilize with the moose that you wouldn't have to do? Because you could just manhandle a black-tailed deer to get it cut up. So what did you have to do to get the moose cut up?
So we didn't bring any like rigging or anything like that. We just brought string or
paracord.
Yeah, paracord. Well, mule tape. So which mule tape is a really strong like ribbon string pretty much, and it's got really high tensile strength. But didn't really, I mean, other than them being huge, I felt like I think that was Brian's second moose and my first moose to take apart, but just it's really cool seeing when you got two guys who know how to break an animal down and they know what the goal is, to get the meat in the bag and keep it as clean as possible and keep it out of the brush. So that moose took us 4.5 hours to get it off the bone and in bags and hung. Well, probably 5 hours to get it hung in the tree. So we knew we were far from the camp, so we ended up hanging everything in a tree, covering it with brush, and hopefully nothing got to it about 100 yards away. But no, it was pretty cool. We just started cutting, so I think I used 4 Havalon blades, and we kept everything on the bone. We were in an area where you could bone it out, but we just wanted to keep the structure and let it hang and stuff like that. So we started. The moose was laying on one side, and I just went to the back, went straight up the back, started cutting up the from the butt to the head, and then just started peeling all that hide back down towards the legs, and then Brian would hold one leg while I would cut around to get the hide off, and then we did the gutless method. So, and then once we got the hide off the rear end, then we went up to the shoulder because I think the shoulder's a little easier. So we got the leg off, or we got the front shoulder off, and we were just staging before we even moved the meat from like our little pile over. We would put it in the bag, put it in big Kuyu game bags, just so they wouldn't get dirty. And then we would put it on like elevated brush so that way it could still breathe and cool down as quickly as possible. And then, yeah, we just worked on one side, and then before we rolled it over, I took the head off, so that way we could roll it, because we wouldn't have been able to roll it without or with this headgear on. So, yeah, then we rolled it over, did the same thing, and when it came to getting the stuff on the inside, like the loins and then the inner loins, that just got in there, ripped out all the guts and got the heart out, and which are huge, like big, and then yeah, just kind of manhandled the thing once we flipped them over. It was work.
You don't go gutless with black-tailed deer, right?
I've done it both ways. It's kind of just like wherever we end up, and kind of whatever the conditions present us. Last year I helped out Alex. He just got it. Well, actually, I didn't help out much with that one. Alex just took care of that one. But like with mine and my brother's hunt at the beginning of the month, we just gutted it out and got rid of everything. So, and then we pulled everything away. There was so much bugs. I'm like, okay, like August, it was terrible. This was the worst bugs I've ever seen. So I just got all the guts out, and hopefully that all the bugs would go to the gut pile.
Right.
No, just more bugs came. It was terrible. It backfired bad. So.
Yeah. So how many shuttles did it take to get all the meat back to the strip, and was there a meat pole there?
We built a meat pole. Funny story about that. Funny side story. So we built a meat pole at the strip, and actually I'll tell that one later. So let's see here. We had, I think, 7 bags and then the head. 7 bags of meat. And then, let me see here. Brian's an animal. He took 2 of those bags at once. So the first load, once we got him down, we hung everything in the trees, and then we took a load back with us. And back through the tussocks and everything. It was terrible. And then from there, hung it in the tree at camp and built the meat pole with just a stick we found laying on the ground. Let's see here. 1, 2. Okay, yes, we got, looks like 8 bags of meat and then the head. So for that first one, we just brought it back to camp, hung it, and then it was late, so then we made the stove up real quick and started burning some firewood and hung out, ate a big dinner, and then we're like, okay, we're just going to wake up, and then we're just going to start hauling meat. And then the next day of just hauling meat, we moved the meat close. We found a different alternate path of just following up the river because there was no tussocks. So that was pretty great. And then we moved the meat 1 mile closer, so all we had to do was go up this little hill, and then we could transfer all the meat from there, and then we would just do longer trips back to camp. So that first day of just hauling meat, we moved everything from there to a little tree out in the open, farther away from the kill site, closer to camp. And then on our last trip, we grabbed, I think I grabbed a shoulder and he grabbed 2 bags of meat, which was absolutely heavy. So he grabbed 2 piles of meat because coming back for the head, it would have just been a single trip back for the head. And he said, nope, we're just going to man up. This will be a lot easier than coming back for one trip for the head. So we get down there. I set the head down because you can't bring the headgear out before any of the meat.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and he doesn't even take it off his pack. And then I'm like, okay, well, I'll just grab one of the heavier chunks. And then we just headed back to camp. We got back there fairly early, probably about 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. We could have gone back for some more meat, but we had it staged and covered up with a tarp. And then we got everything hung up for there. We started getting a bunch of firewood and all that good stuff. And I go to hang up our bags of food on the meat pole, and the meat pole just explodes. We had 4 bags of meat on there, and it just explodes. And a shoulder falling down almost crushes me, and I just get out of the way. And I look up, and we got our meat pole, and it's like 3 different chunks, and half of the meat's on the ground. I'm going, what in the world just happened? Wow. So apparently this was a pretty older stick. It wasn't as green as we thought. So that happened at like 8 o'clock, right as we're just getting ready for bed, ready to relax. We're in our puffies and our Crocs, and we're like, damn it, now we got to build another meat pole, chop down a tree. And so like we just didn't put it up at chest height or anything. Like I climbed the tree. We probably put it about 15 feet up there just because we weren't going to be up there or we weren't going to be at camp. So we didn't want anything to get to it. So long story short, we built another meat pole, and then I think we still had 4 bags. We had the 2 hindquarters, 1 shoulder, and then the head still at the camp. So that was for day 3 of packing, or day 3 of the hunt. So yeah,
it was a lot of meat did you get?
So we were thinking probably so we shipped everything down on the bone for Alaska Air Cargo, and we had a couple other little things in there, but with all the deductions, we were thinking we probably got about 575 pounds of meat, 550 pounds of boned off meat to split between the both of us.
When you got back to Fairbanks, you have it on the bone when you got down here?
Mm-hmm.
So when you got to Fairbanks, you had someone that was able to freeze it, or?
So we used Santa Smoke Shop. When we got back to Fairbanks, we had pre-shipped up some big totes that we got, and we were going to use those as meat totes to throw in the freezer at Santa Smoke Shop in Fairbanks because he's got a big walk-in freeze up there.
Is that the place we went with your caribou?
Yep.
Nice.
I was a little more organized this time. So
is that kid still working there?
He's still working there, yeah. He's still running it, and he actually remembered me. And
nice.
Then the lady there says, he doesn't ever forget a customer. Oh, that's pretty cool. So pretty good setup. And then Harrison was able to get all the totes to Air Cargo for us, so that was really helpful.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do with the bones?
The bones, I'm gonna make some bone broth.
Nice.
I think, yeah, and then hopefully, I'm gonna try to chop some. What would that be? I'm gonna try to split the bone to get the bone marrow out of it, and then do that roasted on the grill. So we'll see
Nice.
how much of a pain in the butt that's gonna be. But bone broth is the main plan.
Yeah, that'll be sweet. That's awesome.
Yeah, there's so much bone, so it'll be a big process. But
All right, so where does this, as far as successful hunts that you have shot, because I know you've been on sheep hunts where other people have been successful. As far as your favorite hunt, where does this rank? It's hard to rank them, but where do you put it?
I mean, this one was a lot of fun. I feel bad because I feel like we didn't even scratch the surface of moose hunting.
It's too easy.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't say.
Well, as far as like locating stuff, it wasn't like you were.
Yeah, I feel like it's not hard to locate a bull or a moose because they're so big when you're glassing up high. But as far as like, I wanted to call more, and the plan was to shoot 2, but then after talking about it and with getting one so early, Brian was more than happy with just packing. And the way we operate, you and I, whenever I hunt with somebody, it's like usually we split things 50-50 on the bigger animal. Sitka blacktail, I'm like, yeah. But yeah, for the bigger animals, and when you got so much time and money involved, it split everything 50-50. So he was totally cool with just leaving early. And yeah, so we're just like, okay, let's get out of here. But I would really like to go up and do another moose hunt. I just don't know how to. I mean, they're all so fun. I mean, like last year with caribou, it was, hike way up into the drainage, get snowed on, weathered in, and watch movies, take naps the first day, then hunt hard the next day and pack out meat for the next 2. And Haul Road, I don't know if I would do that one again. That was just too many people for me.
Which is crazy.
Crazy.
I loved the going up and over the Brooks Range. It's Brooks Range. You wouldn't mistake it for anywhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And then dropping down in the tundra, just beautiful. But like you said, it was amazing how many people there were. I think if there wouldn't have been construction, which added more people and more kind of chaos, I think, and if we would have been able to just kind of fly through and get up there, I don't think it would have been as jarring. But seeing all the construction was an initial bad taste. And then everybody else, and then I don't know how many times I've told that story of just being at that kind of campsite area that has the bathroom for the truckers. It's the first pit stop south from Dead Horse. It's 3 hours or something like that from Dead Horse, something like that.
Yeah.
But to have 5 or 6 different groups of people congregating there, multiple people chasing the same bull. Dude from Kansas that had been drinking the Fireball all morning while they were waiting for the fog to clear.
With the gun strapped on his chest. Yeah, that was a little scary.
That was not it.
I mean, that guy definitely wasn't there to do any harm. He was just there to hunt with his buddies. But
sure.
It's like, there's just too many people for my liking. But as far as where we ended up camping at, we had our little tents off to the side, and there was a restroom there, so that was pretty nice.
Being able to be next to the truck, that we had sandwich stuff that we had. I mean, it was
coolers,
super nice and
real food.
luxurious. I think if there wouldn't have been other people, I think it would have been kind of fun to have it be a little more luxurious than it needed to be. And we did hike past the 5 mile point, so it wasn't like we just kind of stayed close to the road.
Yeah, that was brutal.
That sucked.
Hiked out there and saw nothing.
And then what we thought was like a nice little rise to camp on was nothing. It was you could not set up a tent and not just be totally drenched because it had snowed 6 to 8 inches the week before.
Yep.
And all that stuff was melted, so there were no mosquitoes, but it was just between ankle and knee-deep water.
Yeah, I just remember the angry march back.
Oh, straight line.
Head down. That was quiet.
That Onyx map is so funny because the way out there is kind of like meandery. The way back is straight line.
Oh, yeah. Some shin deep water. Yeah, it was just head down and go. Get to the truck. That was brutal. As far as ranking this hunt, I mean, it's got to be my favorite to date. So, but I can't go back and be like, yeah, no, this was my all-time favorite because they all got their own sort of highlights that I just can't pick one. But to date, this is probably my favorite.
I think there's something about that because we can't do it around here. I mean, there are some some areas around that have some moose, some smaller moose, but the program is so different,
Mm-hmm.
much more kind of complex and just difficult. So the fact that we can't do that makes moose and caribou and sheep that much more appealing. Whereas some people up there might think, man, I'd love to do a mountain goat hunt. And it's like, oh, those are great. I love
Yeah.
those hunts. Those are super fun. But the moose camp with the extra gear, like all that, is just seems like a lot of fun. I definitely want to do that.
Yeah, I just really enjoy getting up to the interior. Like, it is just so fun, and it's just drawing me every year. So I'm trying to figure out how I can get up there every single year, but we'll see. So far,
keep drawing those tags, man. It's
I know.
crazy.
Yeah, luck.
Got a nice streak going.
Yeah, I don't know why. So, with this tag, it was kind of cool because last year I decided, okay, I want to go shoot a moose. Unless something else happens in the draw. Granted, I could go hunt sheep or whatever, but I'm like, okay, I want to focus on moose. So I had my nose in the book of the supplement book, and I was doing research like, okay, which area do I want to hunt? Which one has the best draw odds? And I wanted to do I wanted to have an any bull tag in my pocket because, and there are any bull units. I just kind of wanted to do an any bull draw, just because we don't see a lot of moose down here, and I'm not very experienced. Granted, I can watch YouTube for hours and hours and hours, but it's different when you're out there. So for me, I'm like, okay, I want an any bull tag, and I want to go somewhere up north. I did a whole bunch of research and found a spot, and I'm like, okay, I know where I can fly in from, and options were there, so that's pretty good. And then, it was just kind of cool, like when I actually checked on February, whatever it was, and I ended up drawing. So it was kind of like, okay, a little bit of homework paid off. So that was kind of cool. And then it was the game planning, which was kind of fun, a little stressful because I was like, well, I'm going by myself or I'm going with a buddy. I just don't know who yet. So so ended up working out. We all had a great time, and I think we would do it again for sure. Came back early, saved a little PTO, and now we're waiting to watch the weather, see if we can't go try to get a goat.
Nice.
Or two. So.
Yeah, it's supposed to get a pretty gnarly storm starting tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty bad. Wind's up to like 60 miles an hour and an inch of rain for Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah.
I don't think I'll be going.
No, it's not great. There's sometimes during the rut when it's kind of stormy and kind of gross, you put on the grunnins and it's okay, but some storms it's pretty tough to endure that. So.
Yeah, especially, I think I'm looking for like a 3 to 4 day window to just to go take my time and get up there, not shoot the first thing I see, and just go hang out for a bit. Plus the hot tent this time of year is pretty nice.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep. So.
Let's see what else I was going to ask you. I think it was about the 6.5, but maybe I already answered that, so I'll have to just play this back. I have like a newborn dad brain where I just like sometimes just the thought is kind of there, and then it just kind of goes off, and it doesn't really congeal into anything. But so I guess we'll call that good, and I'll think about what I was going to ask you and ask you later. So,
sounds good.
Cool, man. Thanks for coming on here. Congratulations, and
thank you.
Looking forward to having some of that moose.
Yeah, enjoy.